What was your criteria when evaluating which construction tech fund should you invest in?
I think with them it was, we had known them for many years, and we have sort of with many funds actually, so we don't invest in all of them, but we felt that they had a very good match with what we were working with, the same sort of focus. So we just felt that it was a good match.
What will happen first? Autonomous cars on the roads, or autonomous machines or vehicles on construction sites?
I think that autonomous cars has already happened. If at least in my opinion, is doing 100,000 rides per week.
Yeah. How is technology actually used in AEC? In Corporate Innovations, we explore the innovation and implementation procedures used by those who actually use the tech on a day-to-day basis. Before we get started though, if you're a startup founder or operator responsible for innovation in your company, or you want a deeper, more insightful look into technology in AEC, you won't want to miss our newsletter. From deep dives into particular technologies such as AI, robotics, design, software, and so on. Hot takes from investors betting big in AEC technology, and advice on building tech companies, including the stories and takeaways of the most successful AEC technology founders. Head over to www.bricks-bytes.com and sign up today to get this exclusive material straight to your inbox. And now for the episode. All right, David. So thank you for joining us today on Bricks and Bytes. You're an investment director at Volvo. So could you tell us a little bit about your journey? I think you've been at Volvo since 1987. So that's
a long time. You shouldn't say that. but you know, I've come past the point of being embarrassed of being the oldest person in the room all the time. But I feel like sometimes a bit of a dinosaur. But I'll give you some background on myself. I grew up actually, my parents living abroad. So I most of the time until I was 18, I lived abroad in South America, mostly in Chile, Mexico, Venezuela, Peru.
wow.
My dad was working abroad, and after finishing high school, I moved back to Sweden, and I went through university and became an engineer. And after that, I needed to get a job. So I got a job at Volvo as a trainee, as you could see. You know, Volvo is the biggest company in Sweden in revenue. So the headquarters is in Gothenburg. And I did many things. Started in engineering. I did sales. I was working, selling products to our customers, and quite often it was other OEM manufacturers where we sold powertrains. I also was in product management. That was the last position I had before joining the venture capital team. And when I was in product management, I was this is the function that is in between the salespeople and the development people. And the salespeople, they come with a request saying we need to have this and this and this, and then you go to engineering and you're limited by the number of people and the budget. And I felt that this is a difficult job, because we have so many things we want to do, but we're limited by our own capabilities. We can do anything, but it will take 5-10 years until you get it. So I felt that we need to work even more with the external partners. Many of the things that we wanted were already developed by startups or by young, very clever people. And I felt, why should we do it over again? So I moved or applied for a position in the venture capital team, and I'm trying to sort of influence my old colleagues into not redoing things over again that have already been developed, or that there are other people that are super focused on something, and we have plenty to do in any case.
So you're now investment director, right?
Yeah, exactly. So since 2016, so it's now quite a number of years, like 8 years. So
8 years. So after 28 years, I think you decided to how was it like after 20 something years? You basically go to the board of directors and say to them, "Oh guys, I've been here for such a long time. I want to do this now." I want to be an investor within Volvo. Is it how it was?
But no, within Volvo, there's always open positions. You apply for jobs just like anyone else. So of course you have to you get them. But so I applied for this position. We're not a very large team. We're now 6 people, 5 based in Sweden and 1 in the US.
Maybe you can give us a little bit of how in your eyes has your industry within Volvo changed throughout these 30-something years since you joined Volvo, maybe in terms of automation or any other thoughts you can see. You can tell us regarding technology and change.
Yeah, so that's a good question. Things really have changed. Sometimes you feel that things don't change that much, but I must say that when I started, I feel that it was very traditional, and the construction industry is very traditional. Some things look the same as they've always done, but I would say if I go back, since I started at the venture capital team, some big trends have started really to take effect. Let's take one, the electrification journey that we're on. We know that the products that we make are great polluters in the society. So one way of tackling that is to go electric and to make that whole chain, to be less dependent on fossil fuels. And that is something that I would say happened in large scale from 2016 and on. Automation, you mentioned that, right?
Yes.
That is also one thing. Volvo has always been experimenting with teleoperation, some autonomous functions, but also around 8-10 years ago, it became more and more, and Volvo actually formed a new entity besides the trucks and buses called Volvo Autonomous Solutions. So it's a function that has its sole purpose to offer autonomous, more productive solutions to the market. We don't believe that someone will just go and buy some autonomous equipment. We think that it's a service that we would provide to the customers. I would say that I've seen a lot of trends, and now lately a lot of things with AI, of course, that's affecting almost every part of the company, and we see it, of course, a lot in the companies where we are exploring or investing in.
Nice. Okay. Maybe 2 things. I'm thinking which way around to do this. I think I would like to ask you. Actually, no. Let's go with the why construction technology, because some of our listeners will be thinking, "Why the hell have you got Volvo on the podcast?" So I think we owe them a little explanation as to what you guys currently do within the construction industry, and then I would like to explore, David, your role specifically. So
yeah. So why construction? Good question. Most people know Volvo for the safe family cars, and Volvo makes really nice cars. But somewhere along the line, I don't know if you guys remember that Volvo cars was sold to Ford. You remember that? Or
I was not aware, actually.
No, it was I don't remember exactly when it was, but some time ago, then Volvo decided that it was difficult to work with both cars, trucks, buses, construction equipment. So the car division was sold to Ford. Ford owned it for a number of years, and then after that, the cars were sold to a Chinese company called Geely. So in fact, the Volvo is 2 companies. We only share the brand, but Volvo Cars is one company. They focus on cars, and Volvo Group is another company that is more business to business, heavy equipment. Make trucks, buses, construction equipment. and powertrain. And on the truck side, it's not only Volvo trucks, it's Renault trucks, it's Mack trucks in the US. We have JVs in India, in China. So a lot of truck brands, as actually some construction equipment brands as well. But it's all heavy equipment. And within this Volvo group, then most of the business is still transportation of goods and people. That's the bulk of the business, but quite a big part is construction equipment. And we are competing with the likes of Caterpillar, Komatsu, and those companies. And the corporate venture arm, we are a tool for the whole group. So we work with both trucks, buses, and construction equipment. I personally have a focus area that is more into the construction side.
Which part of the business is larger in terms of like dollar volume? Is it?
The trucks is the biggest part of the business, but construction equipment is quite large. Don't ask me about numbers though, because I'm really bad at remembering turnovers and so. But you can Google that. But what I do know is that it's a quite large company though. We're 100,000 people and very profitable. So I was just looking at the Q2 results, and since I follow some other companies, it's more or less the profit is more or less the same as Tesla, but it's very different companies though. But
quite dramatically.
100,000 people spread across two of these groups, or only within Volvo Group?
No, only Volvo Group. So Volvo Cars, I don't know. They're maybe not as many, but just the heavy equipment. So.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. So, what does your position entail, David, primarily as investment director? And then we'll go into a little bit more about the thesis behind the CVC arm. What is your role typically? Like, what does a day in the life of David look like as investment director?
And I will also add to it. Maybe you can shed some light on like how do you guys see what are you guys innovating about? Like, is it to improve the vehicles, or like there are other products that you're looking at completely different that you have on the market? So maybe you can tell us more about that.
Yeah. So maybe if I can explain it this way, you can imagine if you have 100,000 people and we have enough people, so we could probably do anything in house. We have a large R&D function that can develop anything, so we could do anything. But we sometimes, I have a slide, I can't show it now, but it's we show ourselves as a big whale in the sea, and there are many large companies that can do it, but there are also small fish, and sometimes the very best ideas or the very most innovative companies are not the biggest fish in the pond. Sometimes it's a new small fish that comes up with a very bright idea. So we want to partner and collaborate with those really innovative young companies. And that's we do that in many different ways, but one of the ways is through the corporate venture arm, because we can identify, we can find companies through the investment community, and then either we just collaborate, partner, or we invest in them. But what we want to do is to broaden our ecosystem and not do everything ourselves, but to work a lot with partners. Our CEO, talks a lot about this, and he usually says partnership is the new leadership. I had to Google that. I thought he invented that, but I don't think he invented it. But it's something which is like a mantra in the company, that partnering is something good. So the company is really open to collaborating with external companies.
And what is your particular role in this process?
So my role, so I'm part of then this corporate venture arm, and we we are the ones making minority investments in startups. We don't buy companies. We identify companies that we feel that are a good fit for Volvo, where we can do something good together. But quite often these companies need capital to grow, and we are there to support them. So we give them capital, but we don't want to be we don't want to take over the company. Our aim is not to make them part of the Volvo family. We just want to make them strong so they can collaborate with us. So we give them capital to grow, and we hope that they will become really successful companies, and then we make an exit, and hopefully they will continue to grow into very profitable companies.
Mm-hmm. Do you lead rounds, or you don't lead rounds?
No, we don't lead rounds. We have done so in the past, but we think that we are a strategic investor. So if I put myself in the startup.
Hey listeners, I want to take a quick break to remind you about the Bricks and Bytes newsletter. If you're interested in learning about the technology shaping the future of construction, you won't want to miss the valuable insights we share each week. To get this exclusive content delivered straight to your inbox, head over to www.bricks-bytes.com and sign up today. Link is in the show notes. Back to the show.
Quite often what they want from a company like Volvo is access to business, see us as a customer, get our expertise. We think we have a lot of value within the organization, a lot of know-how, so we can give that to the startup. They can share their technology. We might use their technology in our products, and we can give them knowledge. But we don't want to become too big part so that we make it harder for them to develop. We want them to be able to make business with many more companies than just Volvo. Therefore, we try to take minority positions and not lead. We sit in some boards, but quite often we don't think it's necessary for us to be part of the board either. We can have a dialogue and with the company anyway.
Yeah. So I'm very curious, when you do these partnerships with startups, having 100,000 people, large organization, well, I guess it must be fairly rigid, must have fairly rigid structures, and to disrupt it with like new technology, a new idea that is coming from startup, it might be sometimes fairly tricky for the startups to adapt to your environment. Would you agree or disagree, or maybe can you shed some light on this? How startups kind of help you? Well, maybe try to seed their products or services within your business. Is it difficult for them, or are there any struggles within this process?
No, I think that we have tried to make. We try to make it easier for them to collaborate. You can imagine if it was just a traditional company with the R&D, purchasing, sales, and a startup would come to a huge company, it's really difficult to enter and to know how to navigate. But we have created several like innovation areas. One, I've mentioned two of them now. So one we call Camp X. People can Google Camp X by Volvo, which is like a collaboration area where a startup can contact Camp X, and we can even co-host a small startup if they would like to sit and develop the product at our sites, either in Sweden, in the US, or in France, or in India. But the idea is to have a function that is dedicated to partners to working with smaller companies. So we do that at one entity called CampX, and we also have one which is called the Innovation Lab, which is also has a site in Silicon Valley, and one in Sweden, which is also about connecting with startups. So we try to find ways that they can sort of enter into Volvo, and through there then get introduced to many functions. But but you have a point that it's tricky to collaborate with a company with 100,000 people. So when we invest in companies, maybe we don't invest in the super early companies if there are just 1 or 2 persons. We like them to come to a stage where they can collaborate in an efficient manner. So maybe they're like 40, 50 people.
David, we touched upon partnerships and we went down that rabbit hole slightly. So I understand you guys also are a limited partner in some sector-specific funds within construction tech. So could you explain the reason behind that, as well as having the corporate venture capital arm, which invests in construction tech?
When I started at the corporate venture arm, I was actually thinking myself, how will people know that I've started here? How is my network gonna? How does that work? And I was first pleasantly surprised by how many companies that just contact us directly. So I felt that I was overwhelmed by companies calling me, emailing me about new ideas and so on. But I realized that the companies where we end up investing is quite normally companies that have also been evaluated by other people, typically other investors. So most of the network, or most of our investments end up being companies that we have identified together with other investors. So we have a network of traditional VCs and so on, but the fund is also a nice way, because if we take a sector-specific fund, one that we recently invested in called Sakwa, I think you interviewed them.
We also investors, yeah.
Yeah, they are sector-specific. They have their own network, and we benefit a lot because through them they can open up to a lot of deal flow and a lot of good discussions between them and us. So we have 4 fund investments in different areas. One in Israel, one which is automotive focused, one logistics focused, and then one construction focused.
Oh, that makes sense.
What was your criteria when evaluating which construction tech fund should you invest in?
Yeah, it's difficult. There are many good ones out there. I think with them it was we had known them for many years, and we have sort of dialogue with many funds actually. So we don't invest in all of them, but we felt that they had a very good match with what we were working with, the same sort of focus areas. So we just felt that it was a good match.
Okay, very nice. So I guess, like, in summary, then they just have their ears slightly closer to the ground than perhaps Volvo has in isolation. In which case you guys benefit through them, and they benefit through you via the money that you invest into them.
Yeah, because it goes both ways. Sometimes a fund might be evaluating a company with a certain technology, but they know that we as an OEM might be using that technology. It could be, let's say, a sensor, for example. Sometimes there are sensor manufacturers, and we use sensors. So we have experts on all areas, so we can make the connection, and we can give them feedback whether this is a breakthrough technology or not, in our opinion, and vice versa. And we can also we might be looking for some safety solutions. We're doing something in-house, but we can go to our funds, and they can give us a broad picture of what they see in the market, what's happening, and so on.
Okay, cool.
David, do you want to go on? Or
I was going to go on to pain points. How about you?
I actually wanted to go into some examples of technology that you are looking for. Right now.
I think that it's similar. I was going to go pain points and then technology.
David, over to you. What's closer to your heart, pain points or new technologies?
Well,
which one should we tackle first?
when it comes to pain points, I think the way we see it is that one reason why I have stayed so long at Volvo is that I like the company since it's very much focused on the customers. So when you ask me about pain points, I'm thinking of our customers' pain points. So we know that, for example, let's say the construction industry. We are a traditional manufacturer. We make machines, sell machines. But we know that customers, even though they like new fancy machines with new features, what they really care about is to make their operations safer, more productive, more sustainable. That could be our pain points, I would say. So we try to think, what can we do to make our customers more successful, and that goes back to what we try to develop and so on. Was that an answer to the question?
Yeah, I'm pleased with that. I just wanted to also touch on the technologies actually. So, are there any particular technologies that you're looking for from startups' point of view, perhaps, or some areas of development that you guys think that are interesting in terms of what you're developing with Volvo and products that you're working on, but maybe they are under-penetrated right now?
Yeah, so I could say that when it comes to some areas are very familiar to us. When it comes to, let's say, building a machine, because we still do that. We build machines and develop that. That is, we have a more than 100-year tradition doing that, and that's quite a lot of knowledge built into that. But when it comes to new technologies, let's take the safety, which I mentioned. There's a lot of technology coming up with cameras, different sensors to identify progress, what people are doing on a site, predict things that are happening. Then we're into areas that are new to us, where we have some knowledge, but where we also benefit a lot from development in other areas. There can be development in autonomous cars that will move into construction equipment. For example,
what will happen first? Autonomous cars on the roads, or autonomous machines or vehicles on construction sites?
I think that autonomous cars has already happened. If at least in my opinion, if Waymo is doing 100,000 rides per week, that has happened. So. I often get that question if I think it's gonna happen. I think it has happened. The closest for us is I would say trucks going. We have already a mine where we're operating 24/7 without anyone in the cabin in a mine, autonomous. But the next step I think would be next year is autonomous
flying
trucks on the road in the US, going from hub to hub. And I would say construction equipment will come after that.
What about flying cars?
Flying cars, yeah.
Too noisy.
I get a lot of those companies, to be honest, and I'm super curious. I'm interested in everything, so I am in a way interested, but it's sort of a little bit outside our focus. I'm not a great believer in flying cars. Maybe it's my engineering background. I don't really see how that's going to work. To me, it's called a helicopter, and they've been around forever. So I don't know what you guys think, but
I agree with you 100%. So, well, how about you guys make like construction machinery as well? How about like autonomous? I guess there is some specific, like, let's call them robotics companies, which focus on like excavation without the need for a human. Is this something that Volvo would be looking into as well?
Yeah, definitely. That's a super relevant area where we, where we both do our own development, but just because we are doing development in autonomous excavators or wheel loaders or articulated haulers doesn't mean that we don't want to collaborate. we actually really want to work both with external partners and with our own development. That's the way we have done it on the on-road side, where we have both in-house development of a full autonomy stack, but also partnered and invested in several companies doing the same thing. And that will be the same on the construction side, I think. Many of the things I say is, of course, my own opinion. I've worked so long, so I think I can have that.
Nice. How about electrification then? Because I guess in that you mentioned earlier, actually touched upon it, that what you produce is quite polluting, gas guzzlers.
Yeah.
So are you guys looking at, like, I suppose even like how you could make hello, let's use an excavator again, electronic?
Yeah, I don't know if you have checked, but many of the products are already electrified. I think the whole truck range was electrified. It was funny, going back to mentioning Tesla again, there was one year when they presented an electric long-haul truck. And the belief in the industry was that it's not really feasible because the batteries will be too heavy, and you won't be able to take as much load and whatever. But a lot of effort was put into electrification, and now I would say the whole range is already electrified. But it is taking time. It is not something that will switch overnight. But both on the trucking side, but also on the construction side, many of the smaller excavators, if you go to London, you see these in the city that are digging in the streets. Many of those are electric.
Yes.
So I think it starts with the smaller equipment and then it goes to bigger and bigger. Everything will be electric. Everything will be electric. So.
I just Googled electric excavator and Volvo was the second link. So there we are.
Which was the first?
Sany Global?
Yeah, Sany, that's a Chinese one, yeah.
Others, yeah. You need to work on your cost per click Google ads.
Yeah, that's not my area, but I guess Sany is on top of it.
Yeah.
David, I wanted to ask about at some point in terms of like vehicles designated for construction site, and not only for construction site, there must have been a point probably a few years back or decade back or maybe 2 decades back that from this very tangible hardware vehicles, they started becoming more software orientated vehicles. So there's a piece of hardware, which has obviously been the case, and manual gears and everything, it's like super manual. Right now we have more and more software packed into vehicles on construction sites as well. Have you got any thoughts on this? Is it like the peak of tech that we can put into these vehicles, or we just scratching the surface?
Sorry, I think I missed what you said. If this was the peak,
is it the peak of tech that we put into these construction vehicles, or are we just scratching the surface in terms of how much technology can be put into these vehicles?
If I go back many years when there wasn't that much electronics in the vehicles, then a lot of things were mechanically controlled, and was a big effort to automate a machine. There were companies doing that, mounting tons of equipment to manage and to make a machine going from mechanical to autonomous or so. But as development goes on, if we take the newer electric equipment, almost everything is already controlled through software. So even if there is a mechanical lever in the cabin, you could still control it through a CAN bus, and which makes it possible then to add a software on top of it that will control the whole machine. That is already possible. But what you need for automation is that you have to maybe add more redundant layers. So you have to make sure that if something fails, that there's some other function. If there's no driver, a driver can always, of course, stop or so. But if it's without an operator, then you need maybe some extra safety layers on top of it. But that's already there. So there's nothing, I wouldn't say that there's any technology that we don't already have that is needed. Everything is there.
Would it be more that the Volvo would acquire a company like this, just hypothetically speaking, as opposed to invest directly?
Well, we can do that as well, because of course Volvo has the capacity to acquire companies, and we do that sometimes. But we can also benefit a lot by collaborating. We don't have to acquire everything, and sometimes if there is a company with very bright people developing something, if a large company, large OEM would acquire them, sometimes that is like a wet blanket on the company. I don't know if that's an English expression.
I think I know what you mean. Yeah.
So we actually don't want to sort of make anything that make their sort of momentum slower. So therefore, we quite often think that a minority investment is enough to get this sort of good partnership going, and we don't have to own everything. But if it's interesting enough, we're also, of course, open to acquire companies.
I wanted to shift gears slightly towards perhaps founders that you've worked with in the past, and maybe you can give some feedback to for future founders who would like to partner with Volvo. What tips would you have for them for their startups to be successful partnering with you or within your space?
Yeah, so I'm thinking of two things. First, I'm thinking that when we listen to a founder explain that, we're very interested to see that they solve a real problem, that whatever they have developed is actually solving a very real pain point at the customer, a problem that is there. There are cases where there's a cool technology and you're trying to use it in an area, but maybe there's really no problem in that area. But so we're quite kind of focused to see, is there a real problem? And also, if they solve a real problem, can they monetize this? Because if we would like to invest in a company, we want them to be successful. So we want them to have a good idea of how can they actually make money out of this, so that they can grow and become successful. Those two main points, I think.
Okay. So how would you prioritize investments within Volvo? I guess the two main points I think, based on our discussion so far, would be whether it's a strategic benefit, i.e. it enhances the service or whatever Volvo provides, or whether it's more of a return on investment potential. How do you guys assess that when you are investing? I guess, how do you prioritize? Like, money or other?
First of all, we have what we call our focus areas. We have 4 of them. One we call electrification, a lot of things within electrification. One we call logistics, like how to improve the efficiency within the logistics systems. The third one we call site solutions, which is actually the construction side, but if logistics is going from A to B, how can we make that more efficient? Then construction to us is quite often within a confined area, and we want to make that more efficient. It can be a construction site, it can be a mine, it can be a port, it can be a terminal, but that's one area. And then we have sustainability, how to make the planet, what can we do so that our children can continue to live on the planet. So if it fits within these 4 areas, then it's like you said, we have the strategic and financial side. Our board, they trust that we make an evaluation if it's a good company that they can survive. We don't want to invest in companies that go bankrupt. So of course we evaluate the financial side, but I would say most of the effort, let's say 80%, is on the strategic side. What can we do together? How can Volvo and this company benefit from each other? We don't want this to be just a one-sided thing where we benefit from them. We want to have a give and take situation. So that's what the board that's what we talk about, I would say, in the board, most of it. So strategic, very important. Financial is also important, but that is a given.
Should we touch on some maybe case study, one or two of recent investments that you have done, and why did you invest in those?
Yeah, one of the most recent investment was the fund that we spoke about, which was the sector-focused construction fund, which was a way for us to get an even broader sort of interface toward that industry in order to make even more investment there. Then we also made an investment in a robotics company, but that was on the on-road side, which is making it's called a virtual driver for trucks. This is if we say that automation has been in development for 20 years plus, the first wave of companies were there, and some of them died. Some new ones came up, and lately there's a new technology where generative AI is used together with the automation stack. So instead of having people, looking at scenarios and sort of and driving millions of miles to improve a system, that is done a lot through AI, and that was a company we invested in, which we hope will be very successful.
So instead of doing these miles on the road of San Francisco and others, they do it virtually and they learn.
Exactly. Interesting. But I don't know. I'm personally quite impressed with the capabilities of AI. I don't know what you guys think, but
yeah, we hear AI from left, right, and center. So it's definitely a building block of tech in our space. And sometimes a lot of hype as well. So not much substance, but just the words. So I think the time will tell which technologies will, propped by AI, will succeed and which will not.
Yeah, I'm not so concerned that it will sort of take over many things, but if we are good at using the technology, then I think we can make better services and solutions for our customers. I think it's a tool, a fantastic tool, but who knows what the future will be like. But I'm not so concerned about AI taking over the world in that sense. I think. No.
Yeah. David, if you were a startup founder and tomorrow you just decided I'm going to go build a company, what would it be?
If I was going to start something, I would do something which I know can scale quickly, because I've seen examples of companies. It's interesting that you asked that, because I've been 8 years in this position, and I've seen founders coming with an idea, and I say it's too early for us, and then a couple of years later I meet the same person and they built a fantastic big company already, and I'm thinking I'm doing the same job. But but it's really nice to be in contact with all these entrepreneurs. I would focus on something which I know can scale very quickly, and quite often it's something that would be some sort of software or not involve building huge factories, at least. Those at least are those that I've seen growing the fastest.
Very good.
I just wanted to ask on what's the if you can share, if you know, what's the dollar amount you guys spent on innovation? And that can be a very broad question.
Oh, you mean how much Volvo is it like how much Volvo spends on R&D?
Yes, so R&D can be one part, but also we can also in your investments are also innovation part of R&D actually, right? So maybe you can shed some light on this topic in general. Maybe we can go deeper into one of those areas.
Yeah, I think I said that. I'm terrible with numbers, so I know that if we take some things I do know, the corporate venture arm where I am, we make we've been around for 27 years now, quite a long time, and we made over 100 investments over the years. But if you take that per year, it's more or less 4 per year, so 3 to 5 investments per year, and we maybe invest 1 to 10 million in each company, US. So that's how much we invest in startups. But that is a very, very small part compared to our spending in, I would say, innovation and R&D. But can I mention something which we quite often talk about internally? Even though Volvo spends enormous amounts, I don't know the number, but it's probably
It'll be big.
It's big, right? So there's a feeling sometimes amongst people that big corporates, they have this huge amount of money, and the startups have no way of competing with that. But the problem is that we have to take all that and do everything. So we work on diesel engines, electrics, fuel cells, automation. It has to cover everything. So if you go down to a specific problem of maybe back to like a safety solution, identifying people on construction sites, quite often the startup doing that has more money on that specific problem than what we do, because we have to cover so many things. So we sometimes tend to say that the startups have more money than us per problem, I would say.
Yeah, makes sense. Actually makes sense. Yeah, completely.
But from like corporate point of view, is there like a percentage of maybe revenue or net profits that is allocated onto the R&D and innovation, or that's not how you look at this?
There is a number like that. I don't know. I don't know the number. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Because very often when I meet other investors or startups, there's a lot about this question that you asked in the beginning about the Volvo. Why construction and so on. It's to me, imagine, to me it's a little bit surprising, because to me I've been working here all my life, and to me it's obvious that we make construction equipment, but it's really difficult for many people to connect Volvo and construction.
Yeah. Could it also be anything to do with the landscape, financial macroeconomic landscape, and people, when they decided that they would corporate venture capital into construction, they saw that there was a large market opportunity in terms of potential money going in and coming out. So the question is, like, you said you look at it from a perspective of machinery, but could it be that Volvo are looking at it from more of a macroeconomic perspective, i.e. there's lots of money going into construction technology now, and that's predicted to continue to grow, so they felt that now was a good time to potentially jump on the opportunity?
But on the other hand, you've got lots of money coming into electric vehicles as well as for cars, right? I think.
Yeah, but I don't know if this is the answer to the question, but the corporate venture arm was started in 1997, and I went, actually, we had a 25-year celebration some time ago, and I went back to look, see what was the purpose at the time, why was it started, and it was almost like it had been today, because the whole idea was to tap into the innovations that are being done outside of Volvo, to see, and to open up for partnering and collaboration with external companies, and through the corporate venture arm, that was one way of doing it, and it was for construction and for logistics for the whole of the group. but it's been very consistent, and Volvo's never stopped doing it, and I don't think we will stop doing it either. But corporate venture arms have sometimes been very cyclic. They start up and they are closed down and they start up again and so on. But it's been very consistent here, which is comforting, I think.
Which part of which part of the industry is more dynamic and changes quicker? The vehicles or construction machinery?
I think it's quite equal, to be honest. There's a healthy competition sometimes because, construction equipment wants to be sort of leading this, whereas the Volvo trucks and Mack trucks and so on wants to do the same. But I think it's, I see quite similar level of innovation and development on both sides, I must say. I think it's, I wouldn't say that one is lagging behind the other, even though it's quite common that we say that the productivity improvements within construction are quite low. That's something which is talked about quite a lot. But on the innovation side and equipment side, I think they are developing the same. But there's a lot of things that can be improved in the construction industry. That's a whole different topic. You probably have talked about that with others, I assume.
Okay, so last one for me would be if you had one thing that would make your job easier in assessing startups or technologies within construction, what would that be?
I think what I would like to see is
you kind of mentioned like listening to Bricks and Bytes podcast to get the knowledge.
Yeah, I mean, to make people, of course, even though I think many people recognize that we are investing in the area, I think that there's a lot of companies that are not thinking of Volvo so much in construction. So of course, I wouldn't mind if more people knew that we were investing in this area.
So awareness, really.
Yeah, with the awareness, I think that would be great.
Yeah. I have two more. One, how do you assess the performance of your LP of the funds that you invested in, like Sakura, for example? What's the I suppose return on capital, right? But a return on investment. But how do you? I suppose like when you invest such a large amount of money, and you're expected a return over a 5 to 10 year period.
And do you call Vivian every week or monthly?
Yeah.
I think most funds are pretty good at reporting. Some have a track record, so we can know that we invest in someone who has been doing this for quite some time, and we can be confident on the history. Sometimes there isn't that history, so we can't be sure. Then we try to assess the people working there and try to understand if they know what they're doing, and that's what we're doing sometimes. But it's the same with the funds as with the companies. Most of our interest is within what we can do together. So the collaboration, we're more interested in what we can do together, that we have some interaction. We're not just following it for financial returns. So we want to collaborate and work together and do things.
Very good. Okay, one last question from me. What's your favorite car brand?
I have so many. I have a Volvo, but I have a Saab. A Saab convertible.
Nice.
I really like that one. But my favorite car, I would like to have an Aston Martin, actually.
Oh yeah, good choice.
Yeah.
I like it.
How about you?
Very independent answer, actually.
Yeah. And what would you like? What's your favorite?
I'm not a fan of cars, I have to say. I started small plane pilot course. So ask me 5 years from now.
What's your favorite?
Which is my favorite plane?
Plane brand.
I think it's called. Can't remember.
Oh, nice name.
No, I'm just starting my journey there, so I'm not that familiar. I'm not super familiar with this actually. So,
but I'm more interested in bicycles actually. So that's what I do on my spare time. I like old race bikes. So I together with some friends we go to these races. They can be in the Tuscany. You go on old race bikes on gravel roads. Really nice.
Sounds great. Yeah, nice. Is it like bicycles or bikes? Like
race. You know, they look like a modern bike, but it should not be carbon fiber. You should have to have the gears down on the frame, and they're supposed to be a little bit heavy. But so I'm not at all into the carbon fiber and modern stuff, but like the old stuff. So
nice.
Very
Sounds good.
good.
All right, David.
And what about you?
What?
A favorite car?
Well, I don't know. I feel like because David mentioned Aston Martin, that biased my brain massively because I really do like Aston Martins. But I think it would be cool to own a Tesla Cybertruck.
Yeah.
It probably won't come to Europe, do you think?
I don't know if it would fit on the drive, to be honest, on my driveway.
You can always take your neighbor's driver as well.
Yeah, cool. Okay, David, thank you so much. Could you tell people where they could find out more about you, perhaps where they could reach out to you and Volvo?
I would say LinkedIn is a good way. We have a homepage, so if someone would Google Volvo Group Venture Capital, you can click at the team, and we have our emails there. So we don't make it difficult to contact us. So it's either through our homepage, I would say, or through LinkedIn. I think a lot of things through LinkedIn, so I would prefer regular emails, I think.
Sounds great. And I also just want to give a shout out to Vivian for connecting us and letting this happen. So thank you, Vivian. All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, David.